were just discussing that we're going to give it our all this segment. Start off with the Commanders. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, who's back, you know. He could have taken a head coaching job.
Yeah, by the way, he's pretty high on the smug meter, too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
very similar.
Yeah.
Great OC.
Well,
Josh McDaniels was too.
He expects Jayden to take a leap. Now, last year, Jayden had 25 touchdowns and almost 3,600 yards. Are you buying or selling the concept of Jayden taking a leap and being even better?
A leap is like you said. I mean, his numbers were good. He got them to the NFC Championship game. So it's
where they got blasted.
Yeah, they got smashed.
Blasted the Chiefs, but we don't talk.
This is interesting, bringing up the Jordan Love comments about they could easily not get as far this year.
They could miss the playoffs.
I don't see him missing the play. I mean, it's possible, but I don't see that happening. But it's definitely very, very possible, even maybe likely that they don't get as far. But I'm buying this. I do think Jayden's going to take a personal leap. He only threw for like 210 yards a game last year. So I think they can throw the ball more. They obviously got Deebo Samuel. His personality, we've been talking about smug personalities on that. He's the opposite. Like,
Correct.
He has a personality where I don't see him getting big-headed because he's become a star. And I don't see him being overwhelmed by the pressure now that people think I'm a really good quarterback. Like, he is even-keeled as it gets. We know he's big. He's clutch. I actually do expect him to improve and be better this year than he was a year ago.
As far as not getting a big head in his personality, I think actually his really close, almost protective relationship with his mom probably will help with that. I know that's become kind of like an internet punchline about his mom being so involved, but I think whenever you have people around you that have known you forever, especially that are older, not like buddies, you know what I mean? It keeps you pretty level-headed. With that said, I don't even think that's the goal. I think the goal for whether he probably doesn't think this way. If I'm a Commanders fan, I'm like, hey, let's just avoid sophomore slump.
Yeah.
If he was the same, we will take it. And now I think it's for a team perspective is kind of a cousin to the Niners question we did yesterday. The most likely option is probably door number 3. But if you were like they're either going to get as far as they did in the playoffs last year, conference championship game, or miss the playoffs, I would think it's more likely they miss the playoffs. And door number 3 is probably the most likely. Make the playoffs, win a round or lose in round 1. But I think for any quarterback that vastly overachieves their first year as a starter, you just hope they don't take a big step back. It's very rare, sorry to invoke Mahomes, but someone does what Patrick did, where it comes on the league, his first year, it's like, it's the best first-year starter ever, and then year 2, win the Super Bowl, like the only way you could trump it. That's very...
And nobody's even surprised.
Right, and so I think a lot of guys, like, just maintain should be the goal.
Yeah, like Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl and
then fell apart.
He wasn't.
Yeah, it was...
Okay. I'm watching this segment, and I just have this kind of aha moment and this realization that people really weren't watching the Washington Commanders, and even Jayden Daniels for that matter, as much as they should have been. So they were nowhere even close to being as locked in to all the little things about how this team unfolded. Jayden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Quinn, etc., etc. They started paying attention like a little bit later into the season, but even still kind of at a distance. Remember, pretty much nobody was thinking that they were even going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Lions, And so I think you're seeing a lot of takes that are still based upon a foundation of just not understanding who Jayden Daniels is and who this team is. To think that this team would be more likely to miss the playoffs than get back to the NFC Championship game is absurd. Now, I do think it's fair to say that it's more likely for them to not get to the NFC Championship game, because it's always more likely for every team. It's more likely for that the Philadelphia Eagles do not win the based off of where you were the previous year. So the Eagles obviously won the Super Bowl. it's more likely for them to not win the Super Bowl than to get to this, than to not at all. Same thing with the Chiefs, same thing with the Bills. It's more likely that the Bills don't get to the AFC Championship game. Like, so that's always a fair bet. It just is. Otherwise, like I said, it would be the same teams over and over and over and over and over again, and that's just not the case. There's a chance that the Commanders play the Eagles in the divisional round instead of the conference championship game. Blah 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 blah. So like those types of takes are in no way ever like a big flag that's being planted. We just look at the AFC. We know the Bills, we know the Ravens, we know the Chiefs, 3 great teams. Only 2 of those teams, theoretically, obviously if we're adding other teams as well, could make the AFC Championship game. So one team has to be, the odd team out if we're just using those 3 teams as an example. So it's just kind of like it's just like a unnecessary statement to kind of even really bring to the party, quite frankly. It's like, I think the Commanders are more likely to not win the Super Bowl than win the Super Bowl. It's like, well, yeah, because every team is more likely to not win the Super Bowl than win the Super Bowl. That's just how this works here, guys. But, Jaden Daniel taking a leap, it's funny. There's only so much more greatness that he can achieve. You can only be so amazing. Jaden is already so insanely special. I think what he needs to take a leap at, if you can even call it that, is just his ability to run the offense even better. In terms of how he, what he's already asked to do in any given moment, he does it essentially flawlessly. And when we're going to add more tools in his toolbox, it's not like the equivalent of, well, he's really, let's just be really basic and elementary. He's inaccurate. He's not as accurate at passes 20 yards or more. And once he can kind of get a little bit more accurate with a deep ball, then that will really open up the field, et cetera. It's like, that's not the case. Does he have room for improvement? Yeah, like you could technically improve in every single category of quarterbacking. But like in terms of taking a leap, there's no leap. The only leap now is experience. Is now, being more refined in your execution. But again, it's like seeing that as a leap. I see a leap as in like, okay, he really wasn't good, in the middle of the field. He really favored, et cetera, et cetera. So like, let's just see if we can do this now. And once we do that, that's really gonna really explode things and really open things up. And it's just like, I don't know what that is for him. It doesn't just feel like that even necessarily exists, quite frankly. You can only be so special, and Jaden Daniels was as special as it comes. And this like absurdity though, first off, and my whole Super Bowl rant and NFC Championship rant, the idea that they could miss the playoffs is insanity to me though. Like who are you saying is going to make the playoffs over them then? The Giants, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the Packers. Like I'm trying to get to all the teams that may not win the division. Like what are we like? I don't understand. I mean, it doesn't. The Falcons, the Panthers. Like we got name the teams. If the Commanders aren't at least a wild card team, then who's making them over? Like I think. Let's just say that the Eagles win the division, which I know the Commanders, have the chance to win the division, but let's just make it like the hardest for them to make the playoffs, obviously. So let's just say the Eagles go undefeated. Not going to happen. Let's just say they go undefeated. It's only the wild card eligible for them. Again, who's making the wild card over them? I mean, we know out of the probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest division, the NFC North. You have the Vikings, the Lions, the Packers, the Bears. Let's just say the Lions win the division again. Let's just keep it basic. The Packers, the Bears, the Vikings, they're all going to be in a position over the Commanders. Let's say the Bucks win the division. The Falcons, the Saints, the Panthers, they're all going to win here over the Commanders, the Giants, the Cowboys. I don't get it. It does not make any sense. The 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals, like the Cardinals and the Seahawks, like you can believe in a lot of these other teams. Like I don't think the Packers are going to be trash. I think the Bears are going to be really good. Like you can believe in all of that. But to think that the Commanders would be in a position that they would not make the playoffs, like if you're going to say a statement like the Commanders could miss the playoffs, well, then you would kind of have to say that then about a lot of other teams. A lot of other teams. And even Nick's coveted Kansas City Chiefs then. And he's just obviously not going to say that. And then this other thing where you're saying that Jaden Daniels overachieved. When I hear the word overachieve, especially the way how it's used in sports and it's used in this context, it's used in the way of saying you achieved in a way that either should have not been possible or that we didn't expect, or, the chances of you being able to achieve that again is slim to none. Right? Like that's when you're saying someone overachieved. You're saying like, I didn't think you could do that. And I don't think you can probably keep doing that. So this idea that Jayden Daniels overachieved is kind of insane. If you want to say the team as a whole overachieved because they made it to the NFC Championship game, I'm okay with that. But like Jayden Daniels wasn't like a 5th round pick here, man. Like I don't even understand. If Caleb Williams got to the Super Bowl, got to the NFC Championship game, if Caleb Williams just had 90% of what Jayden Daniels did, would Nick say that Caleb Williams overachieved? He would not. That's how I know he's using the word overachieve in the context that I'm using it. So don't come to the comments and say, oh, that's not what he meant, because that is exactly what he meant. He would have never said that the Chicago Bears and that Caleb Williams overachieved. No, he would not. No, he would not. So it's not overachieving for Jayden Daniels. Like it just doesn't make sense at all. And then this idea of like, well, we've only seen the one quarterback be great in his first year as a starter, and then he wins the Super Bowl. Like, it's at this point it's a tired trope, honestly. With all of this, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. And it's funny because I talk about Jayden Daniels and say, listen, his whole thing is just proving that he can be consistent. It's the one thing that technically is unproven, because the only way you can prove it is by doing it, right? When you can't assume someone's going to be consistent. It's more likely, it's easier to sell and predict that you think someone's going to be great, that they're going to be able to improve, that they're going to be able to throw better, run better, whatever. Like, that's okay for those types of predictions and to kind of even take that leap. But when it comes to consistency, it's so much harder, because it's really like the only thing that can truly be proven. Like, the only way to prove it is by truly doing it for years. Like it's just gotta be something that is time, right? Like it's because it's embedded in the definition of what consistency is. So there's no way around it. So that's really the only thing that he truly, from my viewpoint, has to prove at this point. And I think it's fair. But like, I've already done a whole, deeper conversation about the whole sophomore slump and, all of that. But like, I don't know. This was a small segment, but it was just the conversation itself rubbed me the wrong way, honestly. It really did. The overachieving, the missing of the playoffs, the framing of, they're more likely to not get to the conference, to go backwards technically. And it's just like the framing of it, I don't know, man. I can't put my finger on it right now, but it's just, it had negative tints to it, honestly. Some intentional, some unintentional. And it's just, yeah, it just rubs me the wrong way. The overachieving, that definitely, he overachieved. No, he achieved what he was always capable of doing, and he did it. That's not overachieving. Overachieving, is like, if it's like a flash in the pan, it's a one-off. You're kind of your ability is to achieve here, but everything worked out perfectly, so you were able to achieve here, and like that's it. And then there you go. It's like, I don't know, overachieving. That's gonna sit with me for these next couple of days. I got to keep that in my mind for future videos, especially for First Things First, because overachieving, no. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels? Do you think he overachieved? Do you think they're more likely to miss the playoffs or make the NFC Championship game? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.